Gemini, decoding the messages from your soul's inner calling and purpose. There comes a time in a Gemini's journey when the restless search for answers outside no longer feels enough. You explore countless ideas, worn many masks, and dance in the excitement of endless possibilities. Yet a quiet ache remains, an unspoken question that lives not in the mind but in the soul. What is my true purpose here? Beneath the noise of conversations, the swirl of curiosity, and the constant shifting of roles, there is a softer rhythm calling you inward. This rhythm is not loud, not urgent, but steady, like a heartbeat that has always been there, patiently waiting for you to listen. To decode its message, you must learn to trust the silence between thoughts, to embrace stillness even when your mind craves motion. It is within those sacred pauses that your soul speaks most clearly. In this journey together, we will step gently into that inner dialogue. We will explore the ways your soul has been leaving breadcrumbs, through synchronicities, dreams, and subtle nudges, guiding you toward a life that was meant for you. And as you listen to these words, if something resonates deep within, I invite you to stay connected by liking, sharing, or subscribing, so that together we can continue to walk this path of wisdom and healing. For the truth is, Gemini, your purpose is not hidden. It is already whispering from within, waiting for you to finally hear. Gate 1. The first step to decoding the messages from your soul's inner calling is learning how to recognize its unique language. For a Gemini, this can be both the greatest challenge and the greatest gift, because your mind is a kaleidoscope of ideas, constantly shifting, curious, and hungry for stimulation. You can absorb information like air, moving from one subject to another with ease, and people often admire your versatility. Yet beneath this brilliance lies a difficulty. When everything fascinates you, how do you know what is truly meant for you? The mind tells you many stories, but the soul speaks in a voice of resonance. Unlike the quick, fleeting spark of curiosity that vanishes once it is satisfied, the messages of your soul remain. They return again and again, sometimes quietly, sometimes insistently, nudging you back toward what feels like home. These messages might appear in the form of recurring dreams, themes that keep reappearing in your life, or even in the restlessness you feel when you are out of alignment. Have you ever noticed how certain activities leave you drained no matter how logical or prestigious they seem, while others, perhaps less celebrated, fill you with a strange, unshakable sense of joy? That is the soul speaking. For Gemini, learning to listen means cultivating the ability to pause in the middle of your whirlwind. It is not about silencing your thoughts. Your gift is to think, to explore, to communicate, but about discerning which thoughts come from your restless curiosity and which ones are whispers of destiny. Think about it like tuning a radio. There are countless stations playing at once, but only one carries the frequency of your inner truth. The chatter of the mind is static. The voice of the soul has clarity. It does not argue or demand. It simply resonates. When you hear it, you know not because it makes sense in a linear way, but because it feels inevitable. To ground this, let's imagine a Gemini who has spent years shifting careers, from teaching to writing, to traveling, to marketing. At first glance, this might look scattered, like a person who cannot commit. But if you look deeper, you might notice that each path carried a thread. Communication, sharing knowledge, connecting people. The soul was speaking all along, using different masks to teach them their true gift. Once they recognize that thread, their calling becomes clear. Another example might be a Gemini who has always loved music, but pursued a more practical career in business. Yet, even in boardrooms, they find themselves gravitating towards storytelling, rhythm, and emotional flow of words. No matter how far they stray, the music within them never leaves. That is the persistence of the soul. It does not give up on you, even when you try to ignore it. So how do you, as a Gemini, begin decoding these signals? The first step is awareness. Begin noticing what repeats in your life. What conversations do you never tire of? What subjects pull you back, even years later, like a song you can't forget? What activities make you lose track of time, where minutes become hours, and yet you emerge refreshed instead of exhausted? These are not coincidences. They are the markers of alignment. Your soul communicates through energy, not logic. Pay attention to your body. Do you feel expansive, light, alive when engaging in something? Or do you feel constricted, heavy, and restless? Your physical and emotional responses are tools for interpretation. And here lies an important truth. Your calling will often feel simple, too simple for the busy mind to believe. The Gemini mind loves complexity, loves puzzles and challenges, but your soul's truth is rarely complicated. It may say, share stories. It may say, heal others through words. It may say, connect people. The mind dismisses this because it seems too obvious, but the soul knows in the simplest truth lies your greatest power. This is why stillness is so important for you. Stillness is not your natural state, but it is your doorway. By journaling, meditating, or simply sitting with yourself without distraction, you create the space for the whispers to grow louder. The challenge of Gemini is not that you cannot hear the soul, but that you rarely stay still long enough to listen. Yet, when you do, clarity arrives like a breath of fresh air. You begin to see how every seeming deeder was never wasted, but was preparing you to embody your calling more fully. One day, you look back and realize that the conversations you've had, the books you've read, the places you visited, were not random. They were puzzle pieces. And when you fit them together, a picture emerges, the unique blueprint of your soul's purpose. In truth, decoding your soul's messages is less about searching and more about remembering. It is about peeling away the distractions, the expectations of others, and the fears of failure until what remains is the authentic note you were always meant to play in life's symphony. For a Gemini, that note is often connected to being a bridge between ideas and people, between mind and heart, between the mundane and the divine. Your calling may not be to choose one identity forever, but to embody the deeper theme that unites all your passions. And when you find it, you will know. Not because the world applauds, but because something within you whispers with undeniable certainty, yes, this is who I am. Gate 2. As we move deeper into decoding the messages of your soul, Gemini, we come face to face with your paradox. You are both a seeker and a messenger. Your essence is built on curiosity, the hunger to explore, to understand, to connect ideas across worlds that others may never even think to bridge. Yet, with this gift comes a restlessness, a fear that you will never settle, never find the one true purpose you crave. This restlessness often feels like a burden, but it is also a clue. It is a sign that your soul did not come here to live a life of confinement or rigid definition. Your calling is not about locking yourself into one narrow role. It is about finding the golden thread that runs through all your explorations, the essence that unifies your many paths. That is where your purpose lives. When you reflect on your life, you might notice a spiral rather than a straight line. You circle back to familiar themes, sometimes with frustration, thinking you are repeating mistakes. But in truth, each return is not the same as the last. You come back with new awareness, new wisdom, and new layers of yourself revealed. This spiral is the soul's design. It allows you to revisit what matters most until you finally see it with clarity. For instance, a Gemini might spend their 20s pursuing travel and freedom, avoiding anything that feels like commitment. Later, they may find themselves in a career centered on communication or connection. And perhaps years later, they circle back to spirituality, realizing that all along their curiosity was not just about external exploration, but about understanding the unseen world of consciousness. What seemed scattered was always leading them to the same truth. They were meant to be a bridge, to carry messages from one realm into another, and to share them with those who need them most. The question then becomes, how do you discern which of the many voices you hear are truly the messages of your soul, and not just fleeting distractions of the mind? The answer lies in resonance. When something belongs to your soul's calling, it feels alive in your body. Time disappears. The activity itself becomes nourishing rather than draining. You feel pulled, magnetized not by logic or obligation, but by a quiet joy that requires no external validation. It is the difference between chasing success and inhabiting your truth. One depletes you, the other fills you with life. But here is where many Geminis stumble. Because you can succeed at almost anything you set your mind to, you often confuse competence with calling. Just because you can do something well does not mean it is what your soul came here to express. The world will applaud your adaptability, your intelligence, your ability to juggle many roles, and this applause can be intoxicating. Yet if In the middle of the applause, you feel empty, restless, or quietly miserable. That is your soul's message. This is not your path. True calling is not always the most glamorous or the most socially approved option. Sometimes it is the path that makes no sense to others, the one that seems impractical or even risky. But your soul does not measure purpose by external standards. It measures by authenticity, by alignment, by whether or not you are living as the fullest version of yourself. Consider the story of a Gemini who worked in corporate environments for years, thriving in communication roles and admired for their wit and intelligence. Outwardly, they appeared successful, yet inside they felt unfulfilled. It wasn't until they began writing poetry in secret, words that carried truth too raw for boardrooms, that they felt alive again. That poetry, once hidden, became the doorway to their purpose. Through it, they found their role as a healer of hearts, a communicator of truths that others were too afraid to speak. Their soul's calling was never about corporate success. It was about being a messenger of authenticity. Or think of another Gemini who bounced from one study to another: philosophy, psychology, marketing, and spirituality. For years, they felt ashamed of being scattered. But eventually, they realized that their unique gift was the synthesis of all these fields. They became a teacher who could translate complex ideas into simple, healing wisdom for others. What once looked like confusion was revealed as preparation. Their soul had been guiding them to gather tools so that they could one day weave them into something entirely their own. This is why your inner calling often makes sense only in hindsight. As Steve Jobs once said, you cannot connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backward. For Gemini, the dots are many, but each one is essential. Each interest, each phase, each seeming detour was equipping you with a piece of the puzzle. When you finally step back and look at the bigger picture, you realize your soul was never lost. It was orchestrating a design all along. So how can you begin to actively decode these messages? One powerful practice is journaling with intention. Each day, ask yourself, what gave me energy today? What drained me? What topics or activities did I return to without effort? Over time, patterns will emerge. The same themes will surface again and again, revealing the truth beneath the surface noise. Another practice is to listen to your dreams. For Gemini, whose minds are always active, the dream world is often where the soul speaks most freely. Pay attention to recurring symbols or stories. They are not random. They are metaphors crafted by your higher self to guide you. Above all, learn to embrace stillness, however unnatural it may feel at first. Meditation, time in nature, or even simply sitting in silence allows you to hear the difference between the anxious chatter of the mind and the calm wisdom of the soul. The mind rushes, but the soul waits. The mind seeks approval, but the soul seeks truth. The mind fears failure, but the soul knows there is no failure, only redirection. In the end, your purpose is not about choosing one identity or pleasing others. It is about embodying the messenger you were born to be. You are here to take the fragments of your experiences, the duality of your nature, and weave them into a coherent story that uplifts and inspires others. The moment you stop judging yourself for being restless and instead honor your curiosity as the compass of your calling, you will realize that you were never lost. You are always being guided, step by step, spiral by spiral, toward the truth your soul has been whispering all along. Gate 3. Gemini, once you begin to recognize the whispers of your soul and understand the spiral path that has been shaping you all along, the next stage is learning how to trust those messages even when they do not align with logic, external expectations, or the comfort of what is familiar. This is often the hardest step for you because your mind is so skilled at analyzing, rationalizing, and debating every choice. You can see both sides of every situation, weigh endless options, and argue yourself into or out of anything. This gift of duality makes you adaptable, but it can also paralyze you when your soul's voice is asking you to leap without proof. The truth is, your inner calling rarely comes with guarantees. It arrives as a quiet knowing, a pull towards something that might not make sense to anyone else. To follow it requires courage, vulnerability, and a willingness to let go of certainty. Think about how often you felt the tension between what your heart longs for and what the world tells you is practical. Perhaps you've stayed in a job that drained you because it looked good on paper, or silenced your creative expression because you feared it would not pay the bills. The Gemini mind often whispers, "Be reasonable," while the soul whispers, "Be true." At some point, you must decide which voice you will serve. Decoding the messages of your calling is not just about hearing them. It is about honoring them with action. One of the ways your soul tests you is through discomfort. When you are misaligned, you feel restless, empty, or anxious. You may try to distract yourself with busyness, entertainment, or endless new projects. But the unease lingers. That unease is not a flaw in you. It is guidance. It is the inner compass saying, "This is not the path. Look again." The moment you stop running from that discomfort and instead ask it, "What are you here to teach me?" you begin to understand that even your struggles are part of the decoding process. They are not punishments. They are messages. Imagine a Gemini who spent years in a profession that provided financial security, but left them creatively starved. Their soul sent signals, fatigue, dissatisfaction, even physical symptoms. Eventually, a crisis forced them to leave, and in the chaos of the unknown, they discovered their true passion: storytelling, teaching, or healing. In hindsight, they realized the discomfort was a gift because it pushed them toward authenticity. Without it, they might have remained asleep in a life that was never truly theirs. This is why surrender is essential. For Gemini, surrender does not mean giving up your curiosity or your intellect. It means letting the soul lead while the mind becomes its servant rather than its master. When you surrender to the inner calling, you begin to notice synchronicities aligning in your favor. Unexpected opportunities, supportive people, and signs that affirm you're on the right track. Life starts to feel less like a struggle and more like a dance. But until you take that first step of trust, the path will not reveal itself. There's also another layer to decoding your soul's messages, learning the difference between excitement that is temporary and excitement that is sustaining. The Gemini spirit is easily drawn to novelty. New ideas, new relationships, new adventures spark your mind, but they do not always nourish your soul. True calling is not a fleeting spark, but a steady flame. It may not always feel thrilling, but it carries a deep sense of rightness, a quiet joy that does not fade when the novelty wears off. To find this, you must learn patience, a quality that does not come naturally to you. But patience allows you to see what endures when the initial excitement is gone. A practice that can support you here is creating space for reflection before making major decisions. Instead of jumping into the next new thing, sit with it. Journal about how it feels in your body. Ask yourself, does this path feel expansive even when I imagine myself still on it years from now? Or does it feel constrictive once the sparkle fades? Over time, you will train yourself to recognize the frequency of your soul's true call versus the noise of passing distractions. Let us also address the fear of failure, which so often keeps Geminis from following their calling. You fear making the wrong choice, fear being trapped, fear that you will outgrow what you commit to. But here is the liberating truth. Your soul's calling does not require perfection. It requires participation. Even if you take what seems like a wrong turn, the soul will use it as part of your journey. There are no wasted steps. Every path, even those that end in disappointment, is teaching you something essential. Once you embrace this, the fear of failure loses its grip. You realize that the only true failure is ignoring your inner truth altogether. Think of great messengers throughout history: writers, artists, teachers, healers. Many of them wandered, stumbled, and faced countless setbacks before their calling crystallized. Their purpose was not a lightning bolt. It was a process of listening, trying, failing, and returning to the voice within until it became undeniable. You, Gemini, are no different. Your brilliance is not in choosing once and for all, but in weaving your experiences into a greater story that only you can tell. And here lies the deepest message of all. Your purpose is not something you must chase outside of yourself. It is already within you, encoded in your desires, your patterns, your gifts. The more you trust those inner signals, the more your life becomes an authentic expression of your soul's truth. Yes, the mind will resist. Yes, the world may doubt. But when you stand rooted in what your soul has revealed, you embody a freedom no external validation can match. You become not just a seeker, but a messenger, a light for others who are still lost in their own noise. So as you move forward, remember, your task is not to silence the mind, but to let the soul lead the dance. Your restlessness, your curiosity, your duality, none of these are flaws. They are instruments, and when tuned to the frequency of your calling, they create a harmony that guides you, step by step, toward the life you were always meant to live. Gate 4. Gemini, now that you have begun to recognize, trust, and follow the whispers of your soul, the next stage is integration, the art of bringing your inner calling into tangible expression without losing the essence of who you are. This is where many Geminis feel tension. You carry so many ideas, so much curiosity, that the world often struggles to contain your energy. Yet your soul's purpose requires not only listening but embodiment, the courageous act of translating those inner messages into reality. Embodiment does not mean limitation. Rather, it is a sacred weaving of your dual nature into something that impacts the world meaningfully. Think it like a river. It flows, it moves, it bends, yet it carves a path through the landscape with purpose. Your ideas, insights, and passions of the water. Your embodiment is a channel that gives them direction. Without that channel, your brilliance dissipates into scattered streams. With it, you create a force that shapes your life and touches the lives of others. Integration begins with alignment, aligning your actions with the truths you have uncovered about yourself. The soul's guidance often shows you not only what to pursue, but what to release. Gemini, you have a natural tendency to accumulate experiences, knowledge, relationships, and commitments. While this diversity is your strength, it can also obscure the signal of your true purpose. Learning to release what no longer serves you is essential. Let go of ideas that excite only superficially, of relationships that drain rather than uplift, of routines that keep you in comfort but away from growth. Release is not loss. It is creating space for what truly matters. The soul often nudges you in subtle ways, a feeling of unease, repeated signs in your environment, or the quiet knowing that something has run its course. By honoring these messages, you open room for deeper resonance to enter your life. A practical step in this stage is to create a daily ritual of reflection and intentional action. Gemini thrives on stimulation, so it is important to structure your exploration in ways that feel engaging yet disciplined. For example, dedicate time each day to your core purpose, writing, teaching, creating, or connecting in ways that feel deeply aligned. Track how these activities make you feel, how your energy flows, and notice patterns over time. This ongoing feedback loop is a way of decoding subtle messages from your soul while grounding them in action. Another key aspect of integration is trust in timing. Geminis often feel an urgency to figure it all out now, to map every step with certainty. But your soul's guidance does not adhere to rigid timelines. It works with cycles, spirals, and seasons. Some opportunities arrive quickly. Others require patience, observation, and preparation. Learning to read these rhythms, to honor the unfolding process, allows you to act at the right moment rather than from anxiety or external pressure. The universe has a way of placing the exact circumstances you need precisely when your awareness and readiness intersect. Real-life examples illustrate this beautifully. Consider a Gemini who has always been drawn to writing, yet initially pursued multiple unrelated jobs. Over time, they observed patterns, the topics they naturally gravitated toward, the people who were drawn to their ideas, the moments when creativity flowed effortlessly. By integrating these observations into a disciplined practice, they began publishing content that not only fulfilled them personally but resonated with a broader audience. The path was not linear, but through patience, observation, and intentional action, their soul's calling materialized. Another Gemini might have a passion for teaching and travel. Initially, the two passions seem unrelated. Yet, when integrated intentionally, through workshops, retreats, or online courses, they create a unique platform that blends curiosity, knowledge, and connection, fulfilling both the Gemini desire for exploration and the soul's calling to guide and inspire. Integration also involves courage, the courage to embody your authentic self even when it contrasts with societal expectations. Geminis are naturally charming and adaptive, and this can sometimes lead to people pleasing or suppressing authentic impulses to fit in. Yet your soul's messages often require boldness, expressing unconventional ideas, making choices that feel risky, or embracing paths that others might not understand. The more you allow yourself to live from this place of truth, the clearer your purpose becomes, and the more effortless it is to decode further messages. A deeper level of integration is the alignment of your relationships with your soul's calling. Geminis are social beings, and your energy naturally radiates outward. Pay attention to who encourages your growth versus who drains it, who resonates with your mission versus who resists it. Sometimes, your soul uses relationships as mirrors, showing you where you are aligned and where you are off track. By cultivating supportive connections and setting healthy boundaries, you reinforce your ability to act from authenticity, which in turn clarifies the path of your calling. Finally, understand that integration is not a one-time event. It is an ongoing journey. Your dual nature, your curiosity, and your restlessness are not flaws. They are instruments. The more you refine them, the more finely tuned your life becomes. Each experience, each choice, each reflection acts like a tuning fork, bringing your purpose into sharper resonance. Over time, the seemingly scattered pieces of your life, skills, passions, experiences, insights, begin to form a coherent whole, revealing the unique blueprint of your soul's mission. In essence, Gate 4 is about living your calling in real time. It is about stepping fully into your power as a Gemini, embracing both the intellectual agility and the emotional depth that define your nature, and using these gifts to create meaning, impact, and fulfillment. Your soul's messages are no longer whispers. They are a living guide, showing you how to navigate life with clarity, purpose, and joy. By integrating what you have learned into your daily actions, relationships, and creative expressions, you embody the path that your spirit has always known, bringing alignment between the restless Gemini mind and the steady voice of the soul. Gate 5, Gemini. Having recognized, trusted, and integrated the messages of your soul, the next stage is mastery, the conscious cultivation of your inner guidance into a life of clarity, purpose, and influence. This is where your restless curiosity, dual nature, and boundless intellect meet the wisdom of experience. At this point, you no longer merely follow your soul's whispers. You begin to converse with them, to anticipate, interpret, and align your actions with the unfolding rhythm of your destiny. Mastery does not mean perfection or rigidity. It means harmony between mind, heart, and soul, a symphony in which every note, every idea, emotion, and choice resonates with the frequency of your true self. One of the central lessons of Gate 5 is understanding that your calling often involves both action and reflection. As a Gemini, you are naturally drawn to movement, exploration, and communication. Yet mastery requires balancing this outward energy with inward attentiveness. Your soul speaks not only through moments of inspiration, but also through pauses, the spaces between thoughts, the quiet nudges that emerge when you are present. These moments are your opportunity to align your outer actions with inner truth. Mastery is cultivated when you act decisively from this alignment, even when uncertainty or fear is present. Another key aspect is discernment, the ability to know which opportunities to pursue and which to release. Gemini minds are constantly bombarded with choices, ideas, and influences. The path of mastery is not to chase every possibility, but to skillfully select what resonates most deeply with your purpose. This is not about restriction. It is about precision. It is the art of saying yes to what aligns and no to what distracts. Over time, this practice refines your perception, allowing you to decode your soul's messages almost instinctively. Consider a Gemini who has spent years exploring multiple careers, relationships, and creative outlets. At first, these experiences may have felt scattered, overwhelming, or confusing. Yet as mastery develops, they begin to see the intricate web connecting all these experiences. Each skill, relationship, and adventure carries insight. Each challenge teaches resilience, and each success illuminates the path forward. Suddenly, what once appeared fragmented transforms into a coherent narrative of purpose. The life you have lived with all its twists and turns becomes a map, a blueprint of your soul's calling, visible only when you step back and observe with wisdom. A vital component of this mastery is courage, the courage to fully embody your truth, even when it challenges societal norms, expectations, or comfort zones. Geminis are adept at adapting to external pressures, yet true mastery requires adapting to inner guidance. Your calling may lead you into unconventional territories, demanding creativity, authenticity, and boldness. Trusting your intuition, taking decisive steps, and remaining committed to your alignment, even when the external world questions it, signals a transition from seeker to guide. At this stage, your life is no longer a series of reactions, but a series of conscious choices guided by inner wisdom. Integration and mastery also involve mentoring, teaching, or inspiring others. Gemini's calling is often communicative in nature, sharing knowledge, connecting people, or translating complex truths into accessible insights. The journey of decoding your soul's messages equips you not only to fulfill your own potential, but to illuminate the paths of others. In doing so, you reinforce and deepen your own alignment. The wisdom you have cultivated becomes a beacon, showing others that it is possible to live a life guided by purpose rather than obligation. Furthermore, mastering your inner guidance requires compassion toward yourself. Along the path of discovery, you may have doubted, stumbled, or ignored the whispers of your soul. Gate 5 is about forgiving yourself for these moments. Understand that they were all part of your learning and embracing the journey without regret. Gemini, your duality and restlessness are not flaws. They are instruments in the symphony of your life. They allow you to perceive multiple perspectives, adapt with agility, and connect seemingly unrelated insights into a coherent whole. Mastery is realizing that these traits, once seen as weaknesses, are actually your greatest assets when aligned with your calling. Daily practices can support the stage of mastery. Journaling remains a powerful tool, but now it evolves from reflection into strategic dialogue with your soul. Meditation or mindfulness practices help you maintain clarity amid the whirlwind of daily life. Intentional action, grounded in the insights gained from your inner work, ensures that your purpose manifests in tangible ways. By combining insight, discernment, courage, and consistency, you begin to live in a state of resonance, where your soul's messages flow effortlessly into your choices, relationships, and creative expression. Ultimately, Gate 5 is about embodiment, being fully present as a Gemini who has learned to decode, trust, integrate, and act upon the wisdom of the soul. It is about stepping into the fullness of your dual nature, embracing your restless curiosity as a compass, and translating your insights into meaningful contributions to the world. Your life becomes a living testament to the power of alignment, a narrative that inspires others to listen to their own inner calling. In this space, you are no longer merely a seeker or a wanderer. You are a messenger, a creator, and a guide, fully attuned to the subtle currents of your soul's purpose. The journey continues, but now it is travel with clarity, confidence, and a profound joy of knowing that every step you take resonates with the truth of who you are meant to be. Conclusion. Gemini, as we reach the close of this journey into decoding your soul's inner calling, remember that your path is a sacred interplay of curiosity, duality, and wisdom. You have explored how your soul communicates through subtle nudges, recurring patterns, and moments of joy or unease, guiding you toward a life that resonates with your deepest essence. You have learned to trust these whispers, integrate them into your daily actions, and embrace the courage needed to follow your unique path, even when it defies logic or external expectations. Each experience, each exploration, and even each perceived detour has been a step toward aligning with your authentic self. The essence of this journey is not about perfection or finality. It is about conscious engagement. It is about being present with your restless energy, listening to the subtle signals of your heart, and choosing actions that reflect the resonance of your soul. Your purpose is not something distant or mysterious. It is already within you, patiently waiting for your recognition and willing participation. By embodying your calling, you create not only a life of fulfillment, but a beacon of inspiration for others who seek their own truth. Remember, Gemini, your dual nature and insatiable curiosity are not obstacles, but instruments of clarity when guided by awareness and intention. Allow yourself the grace to explore, to pause, to reflect, and act, trusting that your soul's voice will never lead you astray. Let each step be a conversation with your inner self, each choice a reflection of your deepest alignment, and each moment of practice in living fully from the truth within. As you continue on this path, I warmly invite you to leave a comment sharing your experiences, your insights, or the ways your soul has been guiding you. Engage with this community, share your reflections, and allow your journey to ripple outward, touching the hearts of others. Like Share and subscribe and continue walking this path of wisdom, healing, and self-discovery together. Gemini, your purpose is already speaking. Listen closely, act with courage, and embrace the life that your soul has always known is yours.